Ours is on the cost of control. It completely changes that game. It's like once you do this often, then this is where a lot of people they kind of run after leads. Well, a lot of the reason why people don't have leads or connections is because they're not visible enough, and people don't know what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. That an average human being nowadays, and this was written 4 years ago, so I think that number has gone up probably 4 or 5 years ago. An average human being then was exposed to more information than somebody, and more information in one day versus somebody in the Middle Ages was exposed to in a lifetime. Thank you for joining us here for this video. We've noticed that there are a certain percentage or a high percentage of our audience haven't subscribed to our channel. If you can please click on the button to subscribe to the channel, it will help us create more content. It will help us, which will help us reach more amazing people like you to support them, to serve them. So please click on the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye. All right, I'm going to jump into the training, and from there on, we'll have a short discussion at the end. Our training today is on the cost of control. Can you read that right away? Okay, the cost of control. I'll go into what that is. This week, we're going to explore the human need for control in a bigger way. We're going to go much deeper in our group coaching session. And there's positive and negative to it. But the cost of the negative control I wanted to cover up front, because a lot of times there was this quote from this philosopher Manly Palmer Hall, who said once that we might not know what good is, really what good is, because you might be confused about that, but we know what is not good. If we just stop doing what is not good, the good will just come around. And not good could be hurting people. They could be hurting ourselves. It could be not taking care of things. It's like things that don't work, we're hyper aware of those things. And that's kind of the view I'm taking, is what is the cost of controlling or not controlling things around you that are useful. So the first cost, and I'll speak to that, the first cost is energy. And this, I'll take a wider view on this. And the wider view is the cost of not controlling the inputs that go into your mind. And the first one is probably everybody is overwhelmed by that to one degree or another if you're exposed to it. That could be the news around war, around all kinds of stuff that comes around the bigger themes in the world. That could be social media comparisons, that could be drama in the people around you. We underestimate heavily how much that impacts your day-to-day energy. Why? Because we don't have control over there's a part of our just biology, not even our psychology and thinking. There's a part of our biology that reacts to these things. And the news counts on it, social media counts on it, algorithm counts on it, marketing efforts count on it. Everybody's trying to grab your attention, which is the most important resource you have in your day-to-day life. And it's not like, so for example, you watch the news and you watch a bunch of people dying, and I'm not saying not to be informed, but most people are just overwhelmed by the amount of things that they're exposed to. Be informed. I like to take the time to be informed, but I don't allow it to overwhelm my system. And the way I do that is that I control how I start my day and how I go through my day, especially on the days and weeks that are important. So what that means is that I spend the first hour trying to figure out what my plan is, what my vision is, what are the things that are important to me. Not because I don't care about the rest of the world, but because I can't even do anything about all the problems in the world if I cannot take care of my stuff. I can't even support anybody. And then secondary to that comes, hey, I'll take the time to be informed and I'll have my discussions. And even then, and this is where the solutions come in. The first solution is to control the input of into your mind, whether that's news or some other negative thing, because usually, generally, news is alarm, alarm, this is what's going on in the world, what's wrong in the world. But there are other inputs, like our biology also tries to compare us to other people. Why? Because we're a social species. We look at social media, we see a bunch of nice vacations, a bunch of nice houses, and even without realizing it, in milliseconds, your mind starts to go in comparison mode. What happens? Zaps your energy. Drama from other people around you. And that could be you, by the way. So let's not discount ourselves. It could be, we forget that we are getting embedded into all kinds of drama and gossip and all kinds of stuff that doesn't actually have an outcome. And human beings are used to that. And there's actually a real function to that because that's how human beings evolve to understand their small groups around them through gossip. There's a real function, but that has kind of, we have kind of societally evolved past that, but biologically and mentally, we are attracted to that stuff. How can you stand guard of that? So two solutions here. The first one is control the inputs, especially in the first couple hours of your day, because that determines the rest of your energy. And being intentional throughout the day. Second one is understanding, being aware of your own thoughts and emotions, what's going on. Are my thoughts spiraling towards because somebody shared a bunch of death stuff around the world? Now my thoughts are spiraling, my emotions are spiraling. I can't focus on the thing, or I can't even pinpoint it. I can't focus to pay attention. Or somebody has shared a story in my personal life that now I can't get over. How are you protecting your mind here? If you're not, it's costing you a lot of energy. So this is an area you want to control, which is you can't control everything in the world, but you can control what are the inputs. You can pay attention to the first couple hours of how are you spending, where is your attention going? Because somebody's either buying your attention through ads, through marketing, or through something else, or through social influence, or you're directly putting it into the things that matter, whether that's in your relationships that matter around you, or in your business, or in taking care of yourself. It's one or the other. The second cost is the cost is in your relationships. And this is actually the opposite. We have a tendency, all of us have a tendency to control the relationships around us. That could be your personal relationship, your relationship with your kid, your relationship with your spouse, your relationships with your friends. It's not, we're not controlling how we interact with them. We're controlling what the outcome should be in that relationship, which is not in your control at all. But we can have this delusion that, hey, if I say this and this, they're gonna do that, this, that, and the other, as if they're some puppet in the process. We do that in business relationships too. And we call that, a lot of people call that, well, influence. No, you're trying to control outcomes. Influence is a little bit different because influence requires you to show up with influence, but be open to that process as well, which means that you're going in there because you want to add some kind of value to this person's life and help them make a decision that support their journey, which means you're adding some value, but you're also receptive to the influence on the edge. It's a reciprocal relationship. But every time you get into a relationship and your only thing is to control the other side's outcome, but you're not doing anything with your own, you're not receptive, you're not putting any effort in your own process, that means there's a part of you that's trying to control the outcomes of that another conscious being's process. Sometimes it's a kid that we try to control, and there's a big difference between guiding and controlling. Sometimes it's an employee, sometimes it's somebody else. We over communicate something in terms of tasks, and then we check in with them. We do constantly, not because we care for this person to have an outcome, but because if we lose the control, we think something's going to go wrong, or our mind thinks something's going to go wrong, or we want to know everything about what everybody else is thinking about around us, which connects to the last one, and we don't control these thoughts. And what happens? Drains our thoughts and our emotions. So and the solution here is very simple, actually. Pay attention to your energy around other people. And when you're around your spouse, when you're around your employees, when you're around your colleagues, what is happening with your energy throughout and afterwards? You can actually palpably notice it either draining or becoming more positive or uplifting. It's rare that you see a neutral thing. You're either getting uplifted or you're getting drained. And if you see that, of course, once in a while, everybody will get drained by any kind of relationship. But if you see a consistent trend, that means that you need to change how you're approaching that relationship. There's a cost in there on you and on them that you're not paying close attention to. So the either you're controlling the relationship too much, or you're not controlling your own thought processes, your own emotions, or something around that. And the thing that we want to veer towards is what's happening with your energy, what's happening with your thoughts. Are you aware of it, or you're just automatically reacting to how other people are approaching you? Makes a huge difference. And I'll share one story, a couple of stories around this. One story is around a business owner I worked with a long time ago, multimillionaire. He had done a lot of good things, but for some reason his business would be capped at around a point. And I started working with this team. The most common thing that I heard was that he doesn't trust anybody. He has to be involved in the process. And so instead of letting his team move on towards something, delegate some things, he would try to control the outcome of everything. Now, he had created a certain amount of success even with that process, but he was trying to grow to the next level and it wasn't serving him. And nobody could directly tell him until I came into the fold and I had to question that process. He wasn't aware of it. And it all connected back to how he was hurt a few times. By the way, everybody gets hurt personally and in business at some point. That's not a if process, when process. Now, how you process that and how you make sense of that makes a big difference moving forward. So the solution to that is that cost is pay very close attention to your energy when you're around people and after you meet somebody. Very few of us pay attention. We wonder why we're drained a lot of times. The third one, and this is where the third cost of control, lack of it or more of it, is business and profit, which connects to the last story I shared. Is that now this business owner that I talked about, it wasn't just he wasn't creating a good culture, it was actually affecting his bottom line. The culture is the process, but the bottom line was he couldn't grow beyond a certain level because he couldn't let go of certain things. So the question I want you to ask yourself in your business and your profits, what is the bottleneck right now around me? And that bottleneck could very well be you because you're trying to control every aspect of the system or people around you. Or it could be another team member, or it could be some problem in your process or system. One of the biggest things I've heard that stops entrepreneurs from growing, for example, is that nobody else can do this thing. Well, I said that too a while ago until I hired one set of my the team members that actually worked, and I made a test. I'm like, okay, whatever I've done, it hasn't worked, so I did an experiment. I gave this marketing campaign to them, to my team, and I'd be gone anyway for about a month. I'm like, let me see how they would do, and I didn't expect anything. I thought it would just completely like destroy the whole system. What happened, I came back after a month and we had a workshop and everything running. Not only did they promote it better than me not being in the picture. So they did a better job than if I was in the picture, but they brought in the better people. They created all the things much better than me being in the picture. So I had to let go of control in that area. And before that, my thought process was, well, I don't know if they can do it the way I can. I had already instructed them, I had already created SOPs, but it was hard for me to let go. Not only did that give me time with my family for a month to do a lot of things, but my business was doing better too. And that created an opening for growth in a lot of areas. So, as a summary, and there were only 3 points, and I want you guys to think about this. When you hear news, drama, social media, do you pay attention to the impact of that in your day-to-day life? Specifically, the impact of it on your energy, on your mental energy, physical, emotional energy. I can almost guarantee there's an effect, even if you're aware of it. So, how are you protecting your mind? Number two is controlling or not controlling how you interact with those around you. Are you, without realizing it, trying to control the outcome of other people's actions? Those could be friends, family, spouse, kids. versus guiding versus influence versus collaboration, different thing, different process. And that requires you to pay very close attention to your energy throughout the interactions and afterwards. Are you getting drained by the process or are you getting energized? Your own body will tell you very quickly. If you're getting drained, there's something you're doing to block the reciprocal relationship that every person has with the other one, which is there's an energy exchange that happens. And I don't mean some mythical energy. It's literally we feel drained or we don't feel drained because of the way the interaction goes. There's a reciprocity or there's one person trying to control the outcome. And then the third one is business profits. Ask yourself this question consistently. What is the bottleneck in my business? Is it in the system? Is it in the people? Is it in me? When you ask that question, it helps you understand that you're trying to control too many aspects of your business you're not letting go. That could be a trust issue. That could be not lack of understanding, knowledge. That could be not lack of awareness of how systems work. That could be all kinds of things, but you can at least explore it. So look at all the things that are happening in your business. Where are the bottlenecks in my business? And the hardest one to pinpoint is actually yourself, because it's hard for us to see ourselves being the problem. We're going to expand this much more in our group coaching session on Thursday, where we're going to see the good and the positive and negative sides of control. And we're going to talk about the human drive for control. Actually, control is actually a very positive thing, but we cannot control everything. What are the right things to control within us and outside of us? And what are the things to let go of completely? And we want to dive deeper into everybody's context. How are we approaching it? How are we all thinking through this? If we cannot let go of certain things, we cannot grow. If we cannot control certain things to create order, we cannot grow either. And so how can we become more thoughtful and strategic in this area? So we're going to go much deeper on Thursday. But I want to ask if you can put in the chat for everybody that's here, what was your biggest insight in those 3 points when it comes to your own life and any specific areas you would need to work on? Put that in the chat for me, and then we'll have a short discussion. Have about 15 minutes or so. Give you all about 20 seconds. Okay, we're getting a few things here. From Ian, I'm the bottleneck in my own business. How important it is to control inputs of the mind. Krista, I stopped watching the news about 10 years ago because it was affecting my emotions in a negative way. If you want to be informed, one of the biggest things I would recommend is stop watching video and audio, because human beings affect human beings through tonality, through body language. And these channels are designed to get you affected through those channels. Reading might be the best way, but not sitting there constantly checking, but actually take out time and research. And we have some really great tools with AI you can use to research and look at the sources and see what's what. If you must be informed, but don't just fall for bait and switch, social media reels, or short clips out of context. Fit some navigating conversations with friends. And that's Greg. I believe pay attention to your inputs coming into your mind. One of the biggest things you can control is probably inputs. By the way, there was a quote in this book, Limitless. Forget the author's name in this moment. One of my favorite books too. That an average human being nowadays, and this was written 4 years ago, so I think that number has gone up probably 4 or 5 years ago. An average human being then was exposed to more information than somebody, and more information in one day versus somebody in the Middle Ages was exposed to in a lifetime. And we don't even know the implications of that, because human beings don't just process information through data, we feel it. We connect it to other things around us. We actually put energy to think about it consciously or subconsciously. What is the impact of that? None of us know. And add to that social media, add to that, we're aware of everything all at once. If you take an average human being from a few decades ago, they didn't know anything beyond their own little circle. And even that was too much for a lot of them. Before, go back to before media, the way it is, newspapers, even before newspaper, people only knew about their own tribes. In those cases, in terms of energy consumption, ignorance was a bliss. Now everybody's overloaded by everything. And they don't know anything about it. In fact, the more they look at these sources, the less capable they feel to do anything about it, because the less energy they have to do anything about it. Whenever I see, and I like to be informed, whenever I see problems in the world, my first instinct is, how am I doing things better in my own life? There's a quote from Mother Teresa that says, if you want to change the world, go love your family. I think there's something profound about that, because we can't even, we have enough problems in our own environment that we can't even resolve, and we're going out there and changing everybody else, or trying to change. And that's the first problem, that that's the first reason we got into problems to begin with, because we go out there and try to fix other people's problems without changing our own, improving our own stuff. So what are you doing to improve your own leadership in your home and your with your team and your business? How are you contributing to your environment? And if you have gone beyond that, then go out there and serve if you can. If you can contribute monetarily to causes that matter, do it. But don't stay with that and feel guilty and shameful constantly, and become unproductive in the things that matter. But I want to go into some of the things that are shared. Is that a statement you're making about yourself, or that's the insight generally, Ian? I'm the bottleneck in my own business. That's huge, though, understanding the impact of your energy. And a lot of times we do it inadvertently. We don't even realize it. And usually, and that's, I always tell people, the things that you don't know are hurting you a lot more than the things that you know. You know that you got to fix a bunch of stuff around you and you're kind of putting it off, but there are a lot of things you're not even aware of that you're doing that's harming you. And those blind spots can hurt us and those around us quite a bit. And that's part of why we have these discussions. How do we get better in this process? Thanks for sharing that, being open.